Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we transform ourselves, each other, and the world. Let us all unmute for a few moments to say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Good
morning.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Everyone.
Everybody
Thanks for getting up on this spring forward morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Greg.
Yes.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Happy
That's good morning from
Coronaversary.
Well done, everyone who remembered to set your clocks ahead.
My name hasn't been changed.
I don't know.
Did you say? I haven't done that. I haven't.
Now, where's UUCPA service? There it is. Oh, she's not muted. Okay, good. So she can start. I unmuted her. Okay, so.
You can see the order of service by following the link in the
Yes.
chat. I'd particularly like to call your attention to the many people thanked in the order of service. So scroll on down to the bottom and see information about the many people who contributed to today's service. This Sunday marks a year of our services and almost all of our other events being entirely online. We will revisit some of the music and poetry of that service of March 15th, 2020.
Also, already
Our
has her
production
video on.
values have
Do we want
improved
that?
since then. For a laugh, I encourage you to go watch the first Back in Time video from early April of last year with me and Dan enacting life in Judea circa 30 CE. It's on our YouTube channel. If we had known for sure then that we would have to do this for a year, our spirits might have quailed. But as 12-step programs wisely remind us, we can do much more than we think we're capable of if we take it one day at a time. We have two special announcements today. First, one from Mary Wisniewski of Heart and Home Collaborative. Thank you, Mary, and everyone at Heart and Home for enabling us to participate this way. And now our own Elsa Schaefer is here from the Stewardship Committee. Elsa?
Hello, I'm Mary Wisniewski. I'm the board president of Heart and Home Collaborative. Heart and Home is a cold weather overnight shelter for women operating in the Palo Alto area from December through April. Our shelter was founded in 2012 by a group of Stanford students and community members. For this winter, 2020-2021, we are hosted at 3 different churches, including here at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Palo Alto. Usually, Heart and Home hosts 15 women in shelter, but due to the spacing needs for safety during COVID, this winter we have capped our enrollment at 9 women, which is a pattern that many local shelters have followed. We are really grateful that there are other programs, such as the county's program of isolation motels, which is protecting medically vulnerable and older adults, which have been able to host some of the women who might otherwise have relied on Heart and Home this winter. Over the course of this season, so far we have housed 13 women, and at present we are hosting 5 women every night, and enrollment is open if you happen to know anyone who is in need of shelter. Heart and Home is working to stay safe during COVID, which includes maintaining distance between our beds and also our persons. It includes sanitizing surfaces and wearing our masks at all times, including while sleeping. One of the important rules that the county has emphasized for multi-person shelters is to eat outdoors only, even when it is cold or raining. I am speaking to you from Heart and Home's outdoor dining room under awnings which have been provided by the church. A volunteer either from your church or from the community brings a dinner every night at 6, and we eat right here. Our shelter season will end on the morning of April 5th. During the coming month, Heart and Home paid staff will work with participants to transition to other shelters or housing options. On behalf of Heart and Home, our participants, our board, and our staff, thank you for opening your church home to offer shelter, safety, and warmth during this difficult year. We are truly grateful to be in partnership with UUCPA to build community and kindness for women in our program. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. We have this gorgeous garden of pledges that is
Mark,
having more and more flowers
Mark,
filled in, which
they're hearing.
I think you're about to see on your screen. Oh, good, it is there, thanks. It's blossoming. Oh, good. You see all of those flowers of all 86 of us who have turned in pledges so far this year. Many thanks for your continuing support of this wonderful congregation and our beautiful setting, which we might be able to get back to by the end of this year, where we gather and share values and activism and each other's very good company. That garden still has a few spaces left. There are over 100 people we still very much hope to hear from. And we have a special request this year. We can't drag it out another month. We really need to hear from you this very week. And in fact, today would be great. All you have to do is send an email to pledge@uucpa.org saying what you think you'll be able to contribute for the coming fiscal year, which starts May 1. If you can, please also tell us to count on that amount for future years until and if you decide to change that amount, whether it goes up or down. We'll be so grateful. Now, why are we asking you to give that pledge within a week? Because we have so many unknowns given COVID, which is still with us this year. And there are tricky elements to balance in the budget, including whether and when our major rental income will come back to full force again. Rental income represents sometimes a quarter to a third of our income. And in a normal year's budget. And that is one big impact, as you can imagine, to our financial foundation. This past COVID year, we were very lucky to get a government loan, which became a gift, thank you, to all of our taxpayers, I might add, which would be so helpful to get again, but we have no idea that that really will happen again. So we count on each of you and each of us to continue to be able to support UUCPA financially. And for newcomers, you two are most welcome to join this teamwork. Normally, we have a charming graph here that you'll see on screen shortly. Normally, we have a fairly predictable curve for pledges that come in, both in dollars and in amounts. So if you see those curves going up the graph, the one on the right-hand side is this year. And there is a growing gap between, because it's starting to curve off, between what we normally would have by now and what has come in so far. We need to course correct that curve and actually ideally get above it. And that's why we're asking you, please, could you right now send an email to pledge@uucpa.org and just let us know the amount you think you'll be able to send to the church this year. And ideally tell us as well that you can continue that amount until you tell us otherwise. That just makes life so much easier for the Finance Committee. The link will be in the chat shortly. It's pledge@uucpa.org. And heartfelt thanks to everyone and for all of you do to make this community feel like family. This message comes from all of us on the Stewardship Committee, and here's to yet another great year, decade, and decades after that together. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elsa, and everyone. And now, let us begin our service. These words are offered by the Reverend Arianto Nugroho, President of the Unitarian Christian Church of Indonesia, and brought to us as the Global Chalice reading for the ICU2, the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists. We live in a time full of sorrow. Many have lost their beloved ones because of COVID. Many have lost their income because of the economic crisis. Many have become victims of natural disasters. Many suffer because of conflicts around the globe.
We leven in een tijd vol verdriet. Velen verliezen hun geliefden door COVID. Velen verliezen hun inkomen door de economische crisis. Velen zijn het slachtoffer van natuurrampen. Velen lijden onder conflicten over de gehele wereld.
We live in a time of uncertainty. We don't know when the pandemic will really end. We have difficulty defining truth in the midst of so many hoaxes. We question the honesty of our government, the empathy in our community, the accuracy of our plans, and the truth in our faith.
We leven in een tijd vol onzekerheid. We weten niet wanneer de pandemie echt zal eindigen. We vinden het moeilijk om te bepalen wat waarheid is door het bedrog om ons heen. We betwijfelen de eerlijkheid van onze regering, de empathie in onze gemeenschap, de nauwkeurigheid van onze plannen en de waarheid van ons geloof.
We are at a crossroad between losing hope or building stronger faith, for we face the valley of darkness.
We staan op een kruispunt. Duiken we dieper in het verliezen van hoop of bouwen we aan een sterker vertrouwen? Want we aanschouwen de vallei van de duisternis.
We are examining ourselves. Will we live more egotistical lives to save our own selves or strengthen our community to survive together?
We onderzoeken onszelf. Gaan we egoïstischer leven om alleen onszelf te redden? Of maken we onze gemeenschap sterker om samen te overleven?
We need the light, but we may not have the discipline for spiritual work because it seems all our energy has run out to think, to work, to make income, and we don't have enough time.
We hebben het licht nodig, maar hebben we de discipline voor spirituele toewijding? Want het lijkt alsof al onze energie nodig hebben om te denken, te werken en een inkomen te verdienen. En we hebben niet genoeg tijd.
Then I see that even when a storm tears down a big banyan tree, the same storm can't destroy a bamboo grove. I want to walk in that bamboo way because I don't want to stand alone in the middle of a storm.
Dan besef ik dat wanneer een storm een grote banyanboom neerhaalt, dezelfde storm een bamboebos niet kan vernietigen. Ik wil als het bamboe zijn, omdat het ik niet alleen wil staan te midden van een storm.
I choose to stay strong in faith, just as the bamboo has strong roots.
Ik kies ervoor om sterk te blijven staan in mijn geloof, net als bamboe die sterke wortels heeft.
I choose to renew my hope, just as there is flexibility in the bamboo.
Ik hoor om mijn hoop te blijven vernieuwen, net als de veerkracht in bamboe.
I choose to keep loving others, just as the bamboo grove survives together.
Ik kies ervoor om van anderen te blijven houden, net zoals het bamboebos samen overleeft.
Right now, 3 things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Nu resten ons 3 dingen: geloof, hoop en liefde. Maar de grootste daarvan is de liefde.
With our centering words each week, we draw on one of the sources of our living tradition. Today's words were written by Unitarian Universalist minister and poet Lynn Unger 1 year and a few days ago. Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands, reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Let us follow the sound of the bell into silence. Now let's join Bruce in singing Meditation on Breathing. Some people find the sight of moving water here very soothing, and others find that it triggers motion sickness. So if you're in the latter group, please take care of yourself and switch to gallery view or close your eyes as you sing.
Hi, we're going to do the meditation on breathing. And this piece is a round, so it has 3 different lines. You can choose any of them to sing that you wish, or you can switch between them. There's a main melody, and we're going to teach that to you now, and it sounds like this.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Now that we've learned the main melody, we can learn the counter melody. This one sits a little bit higher in the voice, but it might be a little bit more fun to sing. Here we go.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
And finally, now that we've learned the main melody and the counter melody, we can learn what is perhaps the easiest, most meditative part of the song that is referred to in the hymnal as a drone. Don't let the unfortunate title scare you off. It's a beautiful part. It just provides the background to everything else that's going on in the melody and the counter melody. It's just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and it sounds like this.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
Now that we've learned all three parts of the piece, we're going to do the entire thing together. We're going to repeat it 5 times. So feel free to take whatever part feels good to you. Feel free to switch in the middle if you want to move to a different line. If you have more than one person in your household, we encourage you to each take a different line and let the full meditative effect of the piece wash over you. Here we go.
We now turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives, which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like me to speak this moment, please send your joys and sorrows to joyconcern@uucpa.org or post them in the chat box provided by Zoom, and they will be shared aloud. Let's take a moment now of silent prayer or meditation, any way that you have of holding all that we have just heard in your heart, with compassion and care, sharing one another's joys, reaching out to one another in troubles. Blessed be. Now please join in as Bruce leads us in singing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
This week, the pandemic reached its one-year anniversary. Directly or indirectly, we are all casualties in one way or another. Difficult times preceded the pandemic through the recent history of global environmental retribution, courtesy of Mother Nature, to the political struggles of American priorities, as the country entered a period of abject craziness and divided intentional ignorance. As the pandemic turned into a political issue and not a public health service emergency. This is my story. I am an essential worker, they say, as I am a registered nurse. My job for the prior 2 years was working with a special needs teenager, getting him up and on the school bus to class, be his companion, and care for his medical needs as they occurred during the full school day. School stopped abruptly in mid-March, and life changed. I have found the most important aspect during this pandemic is adaptation and giving myself a break for the variety of emotions and whirling dervishes my mind creates. I have also learned to be more empathetic to others by practicing compassion and attempting to accept the behaviors of others that I don't understand or politically disagree with, for mostly we all have no idea what others might be going through during this time. I had always enjoyed my own company, and now, with more alone time, I did much reading and enjoyed various podcasts focusing on my hobbies and was more present in the enjoyment of the moment. This, to me, is the precursor of self-love, and its practice reinforces its success. During this year, I have spent less money on entertainment and other unnecessary purchases. I have learned that I already am so blessed as I have so much, and extra is an unessential quality I need not explore. Instead, I could do more cooking with regularity, eating right, washing dishes, being self-sufficient, walking mindfully, and riding my bicycle. I have learned that I don't have to take the world's craziness personally, nor feel that I need to understand the world's self-created problems. What was it that I or we have learned in this fiasco? I have learned that the USA has no national public health system, that Congress is shameful, incompetent in their jobs, and are controlled by forces that pay for their re-elections, and are out of touch with the sufferings of their electorate. I have learned about the disparity in healthcare in communities of color or poverty. I have seen end-stage capitalism exploit the frightened in a lawless frontier of snake oil salesmen reminiscent of the 1860s. I have been made aware of the inequities of society and the power of propaganda, advertising, and social media. I have learned that there is a whole segment of society that cannot see the facts as I see them, and how easy and acceptable it is to lie to the people. Some have suffered so much. Others have been slightly inconvenienced, and others have yet to incur suffering from this centennial catastrophe. Nevertheless, during this year, I have been surprised by the overall good in human beings that I have encountered. Politeness and an overall gentleness by most that had formerly seemed to be displaced by consumerism and the ego. Perhaps a new period of awakening now comes from the ashes of the old status quo. A new reality comes as a phoenix from the ashes of the old. I miss the qualities of connected humanity most. I miss my several singing harmonic groups, first Sunday singing on the patio between services, and Zoom being hard for me. I miss our church's weekly forum, where none of us is smarter than all of us. And, of course, I miss our Sunday live services. I miss the freedom of discovery. I miss the busyness of the Sunday park, the gatherings during parties of friends and barbecue fun. In closing, we are all survivors, and we will get through this, and we will learn what a new day may bring. Thank you.
As we mark this year of online-only church, let us pause for thanks and praise for the staff and volunteers who have made it happen, and the easygoing attitude of the congregation as we've climbed this steep learning curve. As I said, many names are there in your order of service if you just click on the link. And today I'm remembering Ann Zeiss and Doc Stoxiadis the week before we took it all online, with Ann holding up her iPhone to send the service to those who decided they'd better stay safe and stay home. The board members who are currently serving signed on in the first couple of months of the calendar year with no idea what they were getting into. And they've met the challenge with grace and determination. As millions around the world and over 500,000 people in the United States have lost their lives, we begin with lamentation. Some among us who have lost dear friends to COVID are Mary Grebenkemper, Barbara Saxton, and Alice Ruzicka, who sent this bittersweet photo. Alice writes, I lost a lifelong friend to COVID in January. I had been close friends with Susie for 70 years. My elementary school friends and I got together every year, but Susie is not with us, and one of my friends won't be vaccinated, so we will get together no longer as a group. And Fran Perry, whose dearest Bryce died of non-COVID causes not long into the shutdown, has missed him terribly. We grieve as well for lost time. Almost everyone who shared for this service said that what they miss is being with people they love. Hugs, time with my children, being with friends in person, over and over, quiet voices of sorrow. Sally Unger writes, not being able to be with my granddaughter, whose picture you see here, has been devastating. She's grown up so much in the 8 months since I've seen her. Bill Hilton says, I've not yet held my 3-month-old granddaughter, though he notes, it will happen soon, now that I have received the second vaccine. We have another baby photo there from Bill. Others also spoke of new members of their families they have yet to meet, or being separated from parents or children for far longer than they would ever have imagined, to their great sorrow. Theda misses going out for special time with her kids. And one person who lives alone notes, "I haven't touched anyone for 8 months." Even those who live with a partner and/or who are generally introverted and enjoy solitude report a need for more physical contact. We didn't know just how much we needed it before. Wei Jicheng was one who found, "I don't think of myself as miserable or even particularly unhappy after a year of living alone during the pandemic. It turned out to be a more sustainable lifestyle than I would have thought." Even so, they too have missed being in the physical company of their friends and family. And on the other hand, those who live with others have wished for some alone time. From those who shared a longing to be alone in their house now and then, it sounds like many of us would benefit from a thoughtful rotation of everyone go take a long walk except one family member. Solitude is like medicine. You can have too much of it, or you can have not enough. Linda Hennigan has been happily surprised by how resilient her kids have been, but notes for herself, "Locking down with my family has felt like living on a submarine. We're all together all the time, and our house isn't very big. We've had good laughs and good times, but I'm looking forward to debarking this ship." And then there are the things we love to do that we just can't do at home, at least not in the same way. Going to plays, concerts, the Commonwealth Club, the ferry to Sausalito, the movies. Going in the same car with friends to events, meeting at church, going to the gym, interacting with the waiters and cashiers we've gotten to know, and having casual interactions with strangers in stores, browsing in the library, square dancing in person, people watching in a cafe. Singing, says Steve Johnson, voicing what many have shared, though he does note that he can sing along with the Metropolitan Opera broadcast, something that would be frowned upon in the theater, or, he says, the office. Some of us have had to cancel planned travel, or we just miss being able to go out of town for a weekend. We've missed special events like a 50th reunion. Some of us haven't been able to do our jobs, or they've been radically changed. Kathy Schwartz, who is a children's librarian, has missed her real job, as she says, interacting with kids on a daily basis in person. Barbara Saxton misses being able to volunteer in her educational community as a living classroom docent and trainer. And Richard Haidt misses seeing students' interactions. We've all greatly appreciated the skills Bruce Olstad has acquired in video production, and he's a fun and valued member of our worship tech team, but naturally, he misses his work as a choir director and voice coach. Many of us, on the other hand, find that we have more time for volunteering, running our city's website, DJing at the radio station, and we've used this time to become expert at Zoom, learn how to edit videos, learn how to record ourselves for virtual choir pieces, and do a lot more gardening than usual. Jessica Huckabee says, "I learned to be an awesome virtual presenter." That's terrific. Jacko Wicki, who took this gorgeous photo, muses, "For reasons that aren't entirely clear to me." Can you back that up one, Tim? Yeah, I want to see that storm for a minute. Jack says, "For reasons that aren't entirely clear to me, my photographic skills have improved a lot in the past year." Bill Hilton, too, has done more photography. And he's also enjoyed trying a lot of new recipes. These bird photos come from Bill. We've gotten some of those long neglected tasks done, from labeling photos, as Geraldine says, to digitizing music and discovering old songs along the way, as Marianne says, to clearing out papers, Fran Perry, to home projects, Kathy Schwartz, and renovations, me and Susan Plass. Theta Korn says, I've walked every day, a habit that I was told to do pre-pandemic but never got around to. Susan Plass has had the idle yet peaceful time to weave together family history she has been collecting for over 4 decades into something to share with her family. Ellie Reese says, I was surprised that I managed to keep working as an archaeologist even during the shutdown. Apparently, the low-cost housing construction project was exempt from the shutdown in March 2020, and as the archaeological monitor, I was expected to continue my job too. I felt very lucky. Jo English, whom we just saw on her walk and is a chiropractor, is very grateful to be an essential worker. At first, Jo says, I was afraid of endangering my life, but this actually has been life-saving for both myself and my patients. We've certainly experienced benefits of this unasked for, strange, and tragic year. Brooke Bashara shares that she has learned how much I needed to be out in nature, how much I was missing it before the pandemic, but did not know it. Geraldine Moran notices that a lot more people are out in our open spaces and walking the city. Dick Duda is one of those who has spent more time walking and getting to know his neighborhood, a gift of this time, as is driving less. Can you back up? We'll see those pictures from Dick's neighborhood for just a moment more. Yeah. Christy Iverson and Bill Hilton have a neighbor who raises monarch butterflies, and Christy has been surprised and delighted to be able to enjoy them and to do much more walking in her neighborhood. Several of us are doing more cooking, eating healthier meals, and getting a lot more exercise. Clearly, these are priorities that fall to the bottom of the list when our lives are busier. Melissa Thompson has mastered a fabulously tasty and crunchy sourdough. Several of us have used this time and the new comfort with video conferencing to connect more with family or reconnect with people we had lost touch with. Christy Iverson has, she says, been loving her weekly reading and play Zoom sessions with their 2 older granddaughters. Jo English says, a nice surprise is how much I enjoy the Zoom church meetings. Watching services up close makes it much more enjoyable and personal for me, and being home in my jammies is a bonus. This picture comes to us from Brian Weller, who received a Valentine's Day card, as many of you did, from the senior high youth group. Drew Oman has enjoyed meeting new folks in the breakout rooms after service and attending the Talent No Talent show, and Jessica Huckabee found more connections virtually through Brown Bag Books and has been listening to great recorded virtual church when otherwise she may not have had time to attend Sunday services. We have made a lot of discoveries like that. Things that don't require a pandemic for us to do them, but that it took the pandemic to make a regular part of our lives. Maybe we can note them now. What has been valuable about this time that we don't want to lose once we can once again go out for meals with friends and travel freely? Let's not forget. We can keep listening to the opera or rock concerts or Broadway musicals via broadcast as well as in public places and sing along. We can take care of those home projects, not as easily when we are commuting to work or traveling for a lot of weekends, but maybe more easily than we thought before this year. We can engage in reflection and reading and study. We can be alone intentionally, and we can be holed up with our family intentionally instead of under duress. And several of us noted that virtual gatherings are more satisfying than we could have imagined. It's great to have work meetings that we can attend without driving, and Karen Skold appreciates not having to go anywhere to attend meetings, classes, and worship services. Linda Hennigan says, I've attended more interesting meetings and taken more trainings than ever before because it's so easy on Zoom. Me too. Marilyn Austin finds that one of the benefits of this time has been UUCPA learning how to do virtual programs. Me too. Steve Johnson notices how much better I hear the service over Zoom than in person, and how much worse I hear people wearing masks. I'm glad we have learned new ways to be more accessible. As much as we miss the things we did outside our homes, we've also recalibrated their place in our lives. Carrie Wagenast finds that she does not need to get to constant entertainment outside her home, although she misses it. This has been a time of growing self-knowledge for many of us. Bruce says he's been learning about his own limits and strengths. Brooke says this has been a chance to refocus on my values, who I am, what gifts I have to give the world, and what the world gives to me each day. Alice has discovered I am content with my life as it is. As much as she has missed travel and looks forward to resuming it, Alice has been pleasantly surprised by how much she was able to go with the flow. BJ Wyszynski says, I'm almost alarmingly comfortable with hiding out at home. I'm sure you're not the only one. Richard Haidt has valued this time to evaluate what is important in life. And Florence Haas says, it's been like a year-long meditation with time and quiet to access our deeper thoughts and feelings, get a better idea of what's most important. Melissa Thompson speaks of the breakthrough moments of gratitude for the small wonders of living that breathe life into my spirit. No doubt this is in part due to the shift, she reports, a paring down of the chronic, overscheduled existence she had fallen into. Amy Finch, too, has been appreciating a slower pace of life. Dave Jewett recalls how growing up in a small town without other kids nearby, he had to dream up adventures, he says. He even had an imaginary friend and wonderful outdoor space to explore with that friend. This year, he's enjoyed getting time to live within his mind in a similar way. We have heard from one another about resilience, about the many online resources there are for continuing to learn and make a difference, about time to deepen both my spiritual life and my learning about important topics such as racism. Wage's spiritual, intellectual, and creative pursuits have included learning how to sing the Psalms using Gregorian chant, actually much easier than it sounds, they assure us, and compiling an ebook collection of Leo Tolstoy's public domain short stories. Many introverts have realized, if they didn't know already, how important community is to their well-being. Mike McLaughlin reports, I now know that my fantasy of spending a sizable time in space really is a fantasy. I'm sorry you learned that by sitting at home instead of by going into space. While suffering from the inability to be with many of our friends and family, many of us have not only appreciated the extra time with those with whom we live, but found that it improved our relationships in unexpected and richly joyful ways. More time with my granddaughter is something Marilyn Stoddard is grateful for. Brian Weller, who also lives in a multi-generational household, reports a steadily increasing affection and appreciation of the family with whom he lives. And while there is no question that parents of young children have had a lot of extra strain during this time, Jessica says, I have also had more time with my 3-year-old, when before I would have felt obligated to be running to many activities and play dates. We can rest and relax in each other's company more now. And Kathy Schwartz was one parent of a young adult who benefited from this time. She says she's thankful for, quote, the gift of getting to keep my girl home with me for one more year as she elected to take a gap year before going to college, unquote. And more than one person expressed gratitude for animal companions who kept us sane and whose growth has been a joy to watch now that we have time to see puppies change every day. Several people have commented on new closeness with their life partners. Barbara Saxton says she is closer to her spouse than ever before in almost 40 years of marriage. And Susan Plass says the biggest blessing of this time has been finding Michael and I more in love than ever, enjoying time together, usually just the two of us. That turns out to be a gift beyond measure. Amen and hallelujah. And it's so wonderful to see your beloved faces. I know it isn't true for everyone. Unhappy partnerships can crack under the strain of forced proximity. If that's you, please reach out to us or other sources of help. For those who are benefiting from more time together, is that something we can preserve post-pandemic? Let's pledge to ourselves now that we will. No one with a long commute misses it, you won't be surprised to hear, and several of us note with gratitude how fast traffic moves and how much air pollution has dropped. We have reflected on how the community and country has dealt with this crisis in ways good, bad, and still to be seen. Ann Zeiss is happy about the great number of people who have stepped up to make a difference during this slow-moving crisis. And George Cole appreciates receiving proof that years of preparing for a disaster and spending the time and assets and efforts to have reserves available for an unknown emergency would and did prove sensible. Dick Duda notes, there has been a huge difference in how the virus has affected different people. In my family, the big negative impact has been on their interrupted high school experience. I've been really fortunate, but I know that a lot of people are hurting, and we have just started to see the impacts on society. Others among us have echoed this sense of good fortune for ourselves and worry for others. Kathy Schwartz speaks for many of us when she says, I wish I could say that the world, or even just our country, has learned about caring for others and for our planet from all this. Crossing my fingers. And Dick Duda has a particular recommendation for us. Maybe we should read together for Reed Zakaria's book, 10 Lessons for a Post-Pandemic World. Sounds like an adult religious education offering I might like to make later this year. Theda Corns is one who has found the increased difficulty of doctor visits a challenge. And Melissa Thompson, who is a chaplain at Kaiser in Redwood City, sees the heartbreak of COVID up close and looks forward to being able to have families present again at their loved one's bedside. Sally Unger emerges from this time with a hard-won insight into depression, something she had not experienced to such an extent for many years, and with it more understanding of those who suffer it even when their circumstances are normal. Some of us will still have to be cautious, we note, but we're looking forward to being able to mingle with others without fear. Glenda Jones wants to resume her piano lessons with Veronica in person. Ed Hartle is looking forward to a subsiding of the haunting anxiety that has dogged us all through these many months. We're looking forward to coming back to church in the manner we're used to. Susan and Michael Plass live just up the hill from the church in their new community and are really looking forward to attending in person. Here in the Bay Area, Marilyn Austin says, I already knew that UUCPA was central to my life, but the past year has made it even more clear to me. As Marianne Neuwirth writes, she is grateful for UUCPA services that have helped her remember what really matters in this life: being kind, being of service, honoring our connections. These responses from 43 people have helped all of us to honor our connections, to remember that we are affected very differently by the same events, but that we nevertheless have one another to help us through our own experiences of loneliness or anxiety. As George Cole noted in his response, perspective across time, places, ages, generations, and cultures truly helps tolerating the strains and pressures of the immediate present. As with those who aren't attending online services or other online events, we don't know the thoughts of those who didn't respond. This year has been an acute lesson in asking ourselves, who isn't in the room? How can we meet the needs not only of those who are here, but those who aren't? That is such an important part of realizing our mission. And due to this experience, we are better equipped now to ask and answer. We are grateful for those who have carried the flame, and we are painfully, sorrowfully aware of those who have not survived this year. For those of us who do, Florence speaks for us all when she expresses a hope that when we emerge, life will feel more precious. As a part of the Free Church tradition, we accept no money from any governmental body. We receive no money from any ecclesiastical authority. This is how we remain free to govern ourselves. In addition to their annual pledges each week, our members and friends may choose to give an additional contribution right now as a public witness that we are and shall remain a free church. And with our offering, we also assert that we are part of the interdependent web of existence. And so today we take up an offering to support Heart and Home. Thank you. Now please join in as Bruce leads us in singing We Give Thanks. Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably. We are one, and from every window, our light shines. Another talented UU minister and artist inspired by the pandemic, this anniversary, in fact, to share his art with us, as Lynn Unger was. Please stay after the benediction for our virtual coffee time. You'll be invited to small group conversations in our breakout rooms, or you can stay here in the main room with me to discuss the service. You should be able to move between breakout rooms on your own, and the rooms will stay open for about half an hour. Now, here's something I learned from a community gathering. After you unmute yourself and turn on your video, make sure you're seeing gallery view. It's usually an option in the upper right of your screen. And put your hands up to the sides of the screen so that they're touching those of the people on either side. Remember that we all see the gallery photos in different orders, so even if it doesn't look to you like there's anyone on one side or another, someone else is seeing both of your hands. Now, please unmute yourself and turn on your video while we say our benediction together. Oh, I gotta see the gallery view there.
Go out in peace.
Out into the world in peace. Good courage.
Fast. That's good.
No
one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Help the suffering.
Rejoice in beauty.
Wish in beauty.
Love
And deed.
Honor all beings.
Spotlight crew.
Okay.
Have a beautiful day.
Oh, there was a big speech.
Have a great day. Bye.